Hey guys, and welcome to the Every Plant Story podcast, the podcast where we share all kinds of plant stories in the life of us here at Gabriella Plants and around our plant community. My name's Shane Malloy. I'm the founder and CEO of Gabriella Plants, and I'm your host for this podcast today. Good to be back with you guys. And for our co-host today, we do have Sam back with us. Sam, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Glad to be back. It has been a minute.
That is a lie. You have a ton going on there over at the greenhouses, but we will get to that. And then also we have co-host Zach as well.
Hey.
Who is our Gabriella Plants media director. And of course, Sam is our operations manager over at our original growing location. So as we get into today's show, obviously this is the first show back, guys, in a little while. We don't have a ton planned for you today, but we do just want to catch you guys up on everything. I released a little bit of an explainer on why we took the break that we did. It was primarily just around my schedule and also wanting to make sure that we're, giving you guys quality content. That's always been something we valued, and we didn't really want to. We kind of played with some options there for a few weeks of like, well, maybe we can just start doing it like from home or remotely, because it was kind of challenging with, I'm sure we'll talk about all the things we've accomplished in the last month, but through all those challenges, it was just hard to get all of us in the same room on the same schedule. And that's all right. So we're back now. But most of that was around my schedule. And then obviously just tons has been going on at Gabriella Plants in general. And of course, it's been really cool to also just see across the country as people get out of the snowy weather. We're confidently into, spring, summer, depending on where you are. If you're in Florida, just go straight to summer.
Right. We skip right over spring.
Yeah. No mercy at all. Elsewhere, I'm sure you're experiencing something people like to call spring, but we don't really know that word around here.
We don't have seasons here.
We just have like cold days and the rest of Florida.
Right.
And cold is 60. So, we're wimps. But all that to say, it's also been cool to see kind of the plant community come back alive. I know a lot of people had to move, their plant collections inside. And, a lot of plants don't like the shorter days of winter. Even if you're able to give them the right light and all the right stuff, it's not the season, right? So it's been cool to see the seasons change too in the amount of time we haven't been able to do a podcast. But with that, a lot of the things we've been able to accomplish are super, super big. If you've been following the Gabriella Plants story online, you can follow the main Gabriella Plants Instagram at Gabriella Plants Online. One of the things that we spent pretty much the month of April, second half of April, and the first half of this month on was shop. So we actually launched our storefront. We talked about that in a podcast before, Zach.
I think we mentioned it, a little bit.
Yeah, and it was a plan that we had way back before COVID lockdowns began. In fact, we were all the way, Sam, you remember, I had the contract.
We were looking at places.
Yeah, we had some things just waiting on the final signatures on the bottom line, and then the lockdowns came into effect. So that kind of got postponed. And as we went into this year, things starting to improve, vaccinations being out there and stuff, we wanted to at least start looking, and pretty much the day we started looking, we found something that if they were willing to work with us and kind of the unique situation we wanted to use the shop for, it would be really, really easy. As Zach, you were mentioning before we started, like just having it all, it's within the same route we're already taking.
Yeah, it's literally not changing anything. I mean, they could take 30 extra seconds to pull into the parking lot, drop off a batch of plants for the shop, and then be on their way right over to
shipping.
Shipping, and
not on the other side of town, or
kind of the blessing in disguise, honestly, of waiting, because we found a perfect location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely worked out.
And it's a great location, not only because of its location to us. It keeps now all four of our locations operating in some capacity within 2.4 miles of each other is the furthest distance you could drive between any of those four. That's really, really cool. But also, it's just an awesome space, and it's even got some room in the back that we're going to set up as like a classroom to be able to do some workshops in the future.
Nice.
Chuck really turned that place. I mean,
big shout out to Chuck.
Yeah, like he did at Loma. I mean, I went in there just kind of semi-recently after you guys got the keys, and I mean, it's just your bare bones, just kind of shop front, and then Chuck spent a week or two in there, and now it's just
flooring and the whole. I mean, it's insane what I asked him in a DM how much he had worked on it, because I knew we were essentially 3.5 weeks from getting keys to that preview weekend opening. which we just did this past weekend, and we can talk about that. But he actually said it was only 17 working days of him being there.
Wow.
And obviously it was bare concrete when we got in there. There was all kinds of weird marks on the walls, and there wasn't a door to the back and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's incredible what this team can really accomplish. And Chuck specifically, he pretty much did Aloma. He did all by himself and put in the hours to help. And then as soon as that was done, he's back doing all the tech stuff he does. And we love him for here.
Jack of all trades.
I know, right?
He's a machine.
I tried to tell him that he had to take some time off, but he didn't listen. But anyways, but with that, we did just do the preview weekend. Zach, you want to kind of give us that? That was...
Yeah, that was really exciting. I mean, I was surprised because Friday, I think we opened up around 1 o'clock Friday, and probably 2 hours before there were people already in line.
Yeah, the first person got there at 10:21.
Yeah, I saw that post in the behind the scenes group. I was like, oh, I got to prove this. People got to see.
Yeah. I later marked it as an announcement because I'm like, this is news.
Yeah, for real.
This is news.
Yeah, it was huge. And then just, closer we got to 1 o'clock, that line just kept getting larger and larger. And I think there were probably close to 100 people in line by the time doors opened, which was just awesome to see. Everybody was just in good spirits. Everybody was having a good time. Everybody was masked and everything. Obviously, we did limited people inside the store, so because it is a slightly smaller space. So
we kind of had to throttle,
how many people can be.
Yeah, just kind of eyeballing, like, hey, let's make sure people can
have some space,
have some room to walk without rubbing shoulders.
Exactly, but it all worked out great, and Brett was there answering questions, and Alexa and Miriam, were hustling and bustling, just making sure everybody was happy and getting the plants they wanted. And yeah, it was just super, super cool to actually see from not even a month ago, a bare bones building to customers inside enjoying it and like seeing their faces light up when they got to grab that plant off the shelf and have it in their hands.
Oh yeah.
And then go and just bring it home. Like that's just something that is going to be awesome to offer people.
Yeah, it's really really cool to see. And like Sam, you can probably attest to this too, because Greenhouse had their hands full, with shop, and just, shop didn't mean although we paused the podcast, perhaps, it wasn't like we paused shipping or paused our weekly inventory updates online or anything like that. So, it was just in addition to everything else we were doing. And the team did an amazing job, but it never ceases to amaze me. It was cool to see familiar faces too, Zach. There was a lot of people there that I can remember back when
first
Sam,
tours,
it was literally the first 3 events. I mean, I think Zach was there filming it as a contractor at the time.
Yeah. The second Saturdays.
Yeah, the second Saturdays. But I mean, at one point that was like you, me, Miriam, and Bruce.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Several of them were just the 4 of us.
Yeah, and we didn't really know what to expect. We were just like, hey, if people pull down this long driveway, I guess it works. So it was cool to see people who literally have known us from that point when the Gabriella team was, 7 people, and to then see their face come back out and see us, now that we're 26, 27 people strong. Not that they were all there at the shop at the same time, but it's cool to see even after years, literally a year of us not having much interaction with our local, customer base outside of local pickups.
Right.
It was cool to see them still engaging.
Definitely. And even outside of locals, we were talking off mic, and you were saying there was some crazy travelers coming into town.
Oh yeah. People, it'll never cease to amaze me how much people make it into a destination. But yeah, I know of one person who flew in from Las Vegas, another, I don't know if it was a group or a couple, or I'm not quite sure, or friends, drove down from Savannah. Another group came up from Miami. I mean, that's hours and hours of dedication just to come see us, which is something I don't think any of the 3 of us can properly say thank you for, because it shows that people really connect with our story, and we'll keep trying to tell the story through the podcast and through any other means we have, because the world needs more growers and all the rest that I believe in and the rest of the team believes in. But the one cool thing that always, besides the near and far travelers and in general being able to see familiar faces, the other thing that's always cool is like, just, we know that the plants that we grow and ship from our greenhouse to your house online do just that. They end up from our greenhouse to your house, but it never has the same, there definitely is cool to get tagged in the photo getting somewhere. But then you walk into a store and you just see a bunch of plants that, you're familiar with at the greenhouses, or you can remember off the top of your head the week that those, were planted or whatever. And just seeing somebody literally walk out physically, like carrying the thing that so-and-so on the team planted 3 months ago.
Right.
It's just the coolest feeling.
Yeah, I was going to say, thinking back to those second Saturdays, the thing that we kind of been missing since we had to stop doing events, obviously, for a while with COVID, was that connection of watching somebody's face light up of they found the plant that they've been looking for and they couldn't find it anywhere else. And they just found a beautiful, whatever it is. And like you said, they can now walk to their car with that. And just that satisfaction is, something we don't get with the online stuff. So it's great to finally have that back,
Yeah, and it's probably there for the online stuff, but yeah, it's something we don't get to see.
Yeah, we don't get to witness it as much.
Yeah, there are, obviously, we love getting to watch the unboxing videos whatever. We'll
keep them coming.
Yeah, we got the Slack channel for that. But the whole, that's always cool to see, but yeah, it's definitely cool. And obviously, I'm not a parent yet, but I always have a weak spot for like, the 5-year-old, like, can I get this one? Like, I'm just like, yes. Yeah. If your mom says no,
I'm giving it to you. I'm saying yes.
I'm saying yes
we
because
will figure it out.
Yeah, well, we can address this. It's a $5 plant. We can figure that out. All right. But that's always really cool to see. But with Shop, I mean, Sam, the greenhouse had to do a ton more than normal.
Oh yeah.
And you guys, we didn't plan it this way to be kind of shorthanded, just with different people.
Right, with people's schedules, life happens.
Exactly.
It was crazy. Actually, again, we were talking off mic, and you told me the actual numbers that we did, that inventory did. Which, first of all, huge shout out to Wes and Holton over there, and the whole greenhouse team, because it was kind of all hands on deck over there
last week.
Definitely. And it was something like north of 5K plants, which we typically do 2,000?
Yeah, shipping will typically ship between 2,000 to 2,400 in a week.
Right.
So we did at least 5,200 if you count shipping and shop in total, which is at least double.
It's insane. And honestly, it was a stressful week. We were grinding. It was all hands on deck. But hearing that gives me so much confidence in the team, because it never felt like we were doing double the amount of work. It definitely felt like a grind. It definitely felt like we had stuff to do. But the team over there is so good at what they do and working together, creative solutions, and collaborating across the different locations, that it came together pretty quickly,
Yeah, and we even had Alexa, who was promoted as our shop manager for Shop. Some of you guys may know Alexa's name from doing some of our customer care stuff, answering some emails and things online. In her previous role at GP, even she had a medical thing come up, so she was out a portion of the week, which we knew about ahead of time. But there was a lot of ways we could have looked at it and said we're missing too much. There's no way, and yet we still got it done.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, from my vantage point,
seeing just people shift, like the shippers put in work the past few weeks, were able to make spare time, and then a few of them were able to come and kind of fill in spots and help out like the areas that were lacking, just because there was so much to do. So it was awesome just seeing all those gears just moving into place, and people helping each other out and making that vision come together, no matter how much work it was how long of a day people had. It was just,
that's been one of the biggest, the flexibility of the team, and being a Swiss Army knife, for lack of a better term, is just people can do, like I said, the greenhouse team shifted gears to be able to help inventory, shipping shifted gears to help shop. And it's awesome to see that, the team really is a team. We have each other's backs when somebody has life happen and the car's broken down, or they've got a doctor's appointment, or whatever it is, we can still get it done.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, shipping has been doing a great job too at just keeping up with trying to ship orders in a much more timely manner. Occasionally there's always going to be an order that gets held for one reason or another. But for the most part, we've been able to keep, especially now, weather not playing as big of a factor. That was a lot of, the things that did get held was we did use heat packs, but either we were waiting on heat packs, as some of you guys know that whole drama. Don't worry, by the way. No one else will get this joke, but we have so many heat packs now because I tried to order like how many I needed from like 6 different vendors. And I mean, I still think we're missing, like, I don't even think we have them all in yet.
I don't think so.
But we have at least half of next winter probably worth of heat packs now when we don't need them.
We've had a couple different times when, you know, the orders were finally able to come through, you know, the FedEx truck come down like, oh, you know, 5 boxes of heat packs. And then 2 hours later, another FedEx truck. And we're like, wasn't this guy just here? Oh, 5 more boxes of heat packs.
It's all the panic buying finally showing up.
Meanwhile, it's all the panic buying showing up. And meanwhile, the heat packs are showing up, and like just the fact that you're unloading a heat pack like while standing in the sun and it's 97 degrees outside feels really weird.
Like, what? We need these heat packs?
Yeah.
It's 110 in the greenhouse.
I know. Can we just bottle up that
for real.
Like heat or energy somehow?
Let's send that somewhere else.
Well, at least we have a place to climate control, keep them. They do keep for 5 years. So next winter, at least we got a head start? Question mark. Hopefully.
Order those heat packs now for winter 2021.
Yeah, go ahead and purchase your insurance now.
Well, that's why we've got the space to store them now.
Yeah, and that's one of the huge upsides to Aloma is we finally have some, you know, a forklift, a more commercial forklift, and the more Costco shelving, and you know, a place to store these things that don't just take up floor space in the warehouse, you know, in the way of moving carts and things with plants on them, you know, just kind of dedicated storage to
because there's probably a lot of items that you could kind of stock up on through the year that you don't use all through the year, but when you do need it, it's good to have that back storage of it.
And even like just with the size the company's grown to and the amount of boxes we use, if we can order double what we were ordering last year per time we order, we get a little bit better of a price. So having that space has been really great. But all that to say, that's a very long tangent to say shipping, especially now that they're out of the heat pack, has just been really grinding. As soon as they got the orders, they're on top of it. Inventory's been on top of getting them all the plants that they could possibly need as quickly as we can, rather than trying to give them kind of a day at a time. And that's really just been able to green light shipping in a way that they haven't been last year. So it's been really cool to see. Obviously, their numbers fluctuate based on how much we have every week, but they're always really good about getting those out pretty quickly. So that's pretty neat.
Definitely.
You hear the rain outside, by the way?
Yeah,
it'll be cooler in the greenhouse when this is done.
Oh yeah, or it'll be humider.
Yeah, it'll also be humid. That is also true. Speaking of greenhouses, going over from shop then to the other major update we have for today, which is the Brooks greenhouses. So we've talked about that on the podcast before. We're building, or it's about done now, 6,400 square feet, I think it is, of more greenhouse space at my wife and I's residence and property, which is just 5 driveways away from Gabriela, 0.2 miles. Well within the distance to use the tractor and the gator, as we've gotten to practice a bit this week as we move supplies back and forth. But that's going to be a really neat space. And it's also a different kind of greenhouse, like we previously discussed. It's going to be able to keep the temps down a little bit more and the humidity up. So it'll allow us to grow some of the things that in our completely passively cooled greenhouse at our original growing location. There's some plants like oxalis, begonias. I'm just naming a few that we have firsthand experience with that just don't like those high temps. You know, they don't like getting over the 95 if they can help it. And this will give us some space to be able to do that. And that greenhouse has been running ahead of schedule too. What we didn't anticipate during this whole process, like I said in that really short recap episode, was just we knew both of them were going to be going on in the same month, which is already kind of a commitment. We didn't realize it was going to be the same week, and we definitely didn't realize that essentially they'd be finished at the same time, which is kind of crazy. I actually got to shop way later than I thought on Friday, just because I was getting the final, like, this is what we have left. It's only this. We're waiting on this part. Recap from them. So there's still one.
So they're basically wrapped up at the same time.
Yeah.
Except for, minor finishing touches.
They're waiting on about half an hour worth of work to complete the installation, but they have to get a couple pieces fabricated that they've been waiting on now for like a week or so. So whenever those are done, we should be good. And then I think they said it will only take them 2 days after that to get all the benches up in that space as well. Nice. So those got actually dropped off this morning. I don't know if I told you guys, but all the benches are sitting in my backyard right now. Awesome. Not installed, but laying there as pieces. And they'll get all that. But all the Brooks greenhouses, a huge thanks to not only the crew, John, I don't know if he wants me to say his business name, so I'll leave that out for now. But, John, who's been working on installing it all. And then obviously Robert and Bruce have been huge from our team. Bruce is kind of our head facilities guy. Great, just problem solver and fixer of anything, especially the ag side of things,
Definitely.
irrigation, the electrical work. So we let a professional crew do the greenhouse installation, the part that could blow away in a hurricane.
Right.
But all the other stuff that goes inside, like irrigation and electrical, we've been doing ourselves. And Robert's done all the load calculations and deciding what, size wire to run everywhere. And then Bruce has been, for a while there, they didn't have roofs on that greenhouse either. So it was just full sun, and
Yeah.
he was just trying to get conduit
Out in the field.
yeah, and it's better to do it now than even 2 weeks from now. It's going to be harder than what we
Yep.
think it is now. So, but it wouldn't be possible without the dedication of Bruce and Robert for seeing that project through. Because while they were doing that, I would have loved to be more hands-on with that. But then we also had shop going on, so I was working a lot with Alexa and just making sure the other things were going. So the fact that Chuck was able to work on shop and Robert and Bruce were able to do the Gabriella side of the Brooks build out. I can't say anything else. Just wow. You know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
shows the power of the team. So
Definitely.
bravo to you guys and, and Sam and everyone else for just being able to keep what they're responsible for in their departments just operating given what we had. So
Right.
it's all a miracle. But that Brooks greenhouse is going to be really cool too, because it's going to let us do, it's going to have an impact on the original growing location.
Oh, yeah.
Having not only the ability to grow some new plants, things like that. Obviously, I'll be able to spend more time in this particular greenhouse with it being in my backyard.
Right.
And I have a lot of random 30 minutes at a time that doesn't really make sense to go to OG throughout the day, but I'd love to. You guys know me. I love plants more than anything. I'll be propagating till 10 p.m. at night out there.
Yeah, I feel like
somebody's
any free
gonna
time you do have, you're
Hands
in
in
the
dirt.
greenhouse.
yeah. Mary's gonna have to get a bell or something
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
sure, like, hey, it is like 11 o'clock at night. Like, you should probably come to bed now. But all that to say, it is also going to let us free up some space.
Oh, yeah.
Because some of the plants are going to come over to
Definitely.
start to grow at this location. So the impact on the original location as well.
Yeah. So we're going to be able to, it's going to free up a lot of space. As Shane said, we have some plants that are, pretty finicky in our regular greenhouses just because they don't like the high temps, or that, they're real specific on the humidity they need. So that's going to allow us to move a lot of stuff out of that. We call it the Philly house, because I guess it was just philodendrons for when
Yeah,
it was
at
originating?
at one point that was a shade house where my grandpa was growing outdoor bougainvillea tubs or roses or whatever. He'd buy them in smaller and grow them out for a year or whatever to sell at his retail store. Talk about full circle, by the way, 3 generations later, right back into having a retail store selling plants.
I didn't realize he had a retail store.
Yeah. Dad was the one who kind of transitioned it back.
Stepped
Essentially
away from-
started the
Right.
wholesale side. Grandpa
okay.
had only ever had the greenhouses to grow inventory like we are, for our own sake, not
Right.
to
Interesting.
sell as wholesale. Dad, being introvert at heart, which trust me, I understand,
Right.
but was just wanted to be able to focus on the botany side of it
Right.
and the plant side of it, and not have to deal with the customer side, which is the upside to wholesale. There's
Right.
plenty of ups and plenty
Definitely.
of downs, but one of the things is you have a lot less people who know who you are, a lot less people have your phone number. You're able to really stay
Right.
focused on the plants and let the rest of the network of how that industry works kind of deal with selling the plants and
Right.
organizing the logistics of how they get shipped where they're going. You can just stay focused on growing. But yeah, Grandpa used to have a retail store way back in the day, so full circle.
The
Right.
more you know.
So all that being said, if you ever hear us say Philly house, we know we are not opening a greenhouse in
Yes.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We've gotten that question before. Maybe one day, but that's the Philly house is
Philadelphia also already has Ill Exotics, so shout out to those guys.
Oh, there you go.
Definitely want to check out that. I think they just opened a new location, by
Oh,
the way.
really?
So
That's
hey,
awesome.
growers helping growers. There we
Oh,
go.
yeah. Growing together.
Yeah, growing together. But yeah, no, it's been really cool to see that retail side come back to the family too. I forget. I was gonna go with something. I had something.
it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about
you
the
asked
Philly
if the
house.
Philly house was
was all
original,
Phillies,
how it
right?
got its name. Yeah. So the original, that was a shade house, just the 4x4 post with the shade cloth on top. Dad, when he graduated college, started to build the commercial greenhouses in the main array. And when he did that, I think somebody kind of alluded to the fact of hey, these are roughly the same size that you can just pop like a hoop structure on the top of it throw a roof over the top and like it'll work. It'll give you some more like lower light space for houseplants. And at the time, all we were growing was syngoniums and Boston ferns, and I think spath at the same time. But it was like only those three things, all from TC, and we didn't really have anything based on cuttings. Grandma worked and had some different Philodendron heteroraceum, you know, the green, the Brazil, the lemon, and stuff like that, and would work in the later named Philly house. As I grew up as a kid, she'd come over every day just to help my dad, and was like the person who grew that skew in that limited amount of space, because they dealt with different pests than what the main greenhouse. You won't normally get a mealybug on a syngonium, but a mealybug will live on a syngonium if it got there from something else. So to kind of keep that separated at the time,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's where it's got its name. So at one point, all the philodendron we grew came from that
over there.
That tiny little.
And now I don't know if there's any philodendron in there, but it is still the Philly house.
Yeah, there's a lot of philodendron.
Is it really?
Pink Princess are over there.
I guess that's true.
And
that
Jose.
shows what I know.
Yeah, Silver Sword. The second hoop is all philodendron. The first hoop is like all Hoya. And, some of the other begonia. A lot of the stuff that's going to Brooks ultimately.
Definitely. Yeah. So. Well, and that too, actually, back to the how that's going to affect the OG location, is that's just going to give us a lot of chances to readdress some of the issues we've had structurally. Because I mean, the metal on the top, the actual hoop itself, is really the greenhouse. The rest of it's just kind of plywood or like 2x4s and stuff.
It's just lumber built.
We've made to, you know, and replaced over the years. And there's a lot of benches in there that have been falling apart. So not only is this new greenhouse going to give us a lot of space, it's going to let us build more benches and have more space than ever.
Yeah, kind of
OG.
Get that whole space updated to being more usable. Because, in its current form, the Philly house has a few kind of just
dead spots.
Yeah, understood. Like, hey, don't put anything there if it's over 5 pounds, because that's not going to hold.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's going to be really cool to see that. So, really excited about Brooks. At this point, later today, if it's raining right now, I may go do it now if it's going to be cool.
Oh, yeah.
I do got to get the inventory graphic out. But I need to wire up the last couple fans, which I guess is my last fun fact. It also has active cooling, as we talked about previously. And the big thing that we took a lot of time to figure out and eventually got right was that for every 2 fans, the whole greenhouse has 6. For every 2 fans, you need an entire dedicated 220 circuit, like your dryer would run on, which equals a lot of power.
A lot of power.
Yeah, it's a lot of power. So we had to we ran into a couple different, we had to upgrade the service panel to my house, and oh my goodness.
The amount of cables out there, if someone were to just walk up to it and not know that you're building a greenhouse, it'd be like, why? What office building are you guys building back here?
Correct.
It just makes zero sense. And then you just kind of see where everything is running. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, those are some pretty big fans. They probably need a lot of power.
Yeah, and we went overboard too, because the other thing and we can maybe end on this, but the other thing that I'm really excited on for Brooks is there's a lot of technology both from experimentations, both from a technology side and from a horticulture side, that can get very easily lost or misinterpreted at the other location, just because, we're always trying to keep things organized. You may not realize why that plant was there to kind of test that lighting or to be in that particular area. So it'll give us a lot more
a
controllable space to do trials in. And not only on the plant end, but on the science end too. So a lot of the devices we're making to measure the soil moisture and things like that. It'll be a lot easier. Part of the reason we ran so many circuits and so much extra conduit and stuff is so that entire greenhouse can be connected to high-speed internet and can be remotely. I mean, our main greenhouse has that, but a lot of it's Wi-Fi based. It's not really within a close enough distance to be able to monitor all the time, stuff like that. So the fact that it'll be right outside my house, which my garage right now has been converted into Curtis's R&D workshop. My house is, my power bill is going to be bad next month because the garage AC has been running. And then
I just want to hear that conversation with your power company. Come to you what did you change in this past month that you've now doubled or tripled your bill?
Like the way we're reading this bill, did you install 3 air conditioners in your home? Like, why are you
What have you been
this?
running?
Yeah, why are you using this as a trainer? Get off my back. But anyways, it's going to be really cool too to put a lot of our new devices that we've been working on building and get a lot of that technology tested.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of technology, as a last thing, this is the Every Plant Story podcast. The Every Plant Story portal is out. For those of you who may have gotten an Every Plant Story steak in one of your orders, you can scan it with your phone and see the preliminary kind of beta 1 of the story portal, which is date planted, name of the person who planted it, soil mix if it's there.
I think maybe number of cuttings,
Yeah,
depending
on if it's been listed as one of the things in when the tag was made. So there's tons more that we're trying to tie into that system, obviously, and that's only going to get better. That's only step 1. But we at least wanted to be able to share, activate the portal where somebody can at least get access to the stuff we have right now.
Right.
We have so many more plans for that, and I can't wait to talk to, Robert's birthday was yesterday, actually. I debated asking him, but I was trying to give him space on his birthday. But at some point, we'll tell the origin story of kind of how that conversation happened, because it was actually something I kind of I kind of said, like, there's no way this is ever going to happen. And here we are using that technology every week. So really cool to see that come full circle too. And that's been out. So if you get a story steak and you enjoy it, for sure, let us know. Feedback at everyplantstory.com works for that. And that would give our tech team, if you did run into any problems or just have ideas for the future. It may be something that's already on kind of our, horizon, but we've always been keen to listen to what our customers are asking for. And if it's something we can feasibly do, that's not always. If we could make more plants appear, especially the ones people want more of, we would. But where it's feasible, we try to figure out solutions that, help our customers in one way or another. So it's really been cool to see the growth of the tech side of things too. And I'm excited for what we're going to be able to roll out, like a high level teaser. Figured out last night how to, we may be utilizing a new type of soil moisture sensor, which would be it would actually do what we need, which is light per plant basis and soil moisture per plant basis, not for every single plant, but I mean, all in one, instead of having to measure the light on one device at a certain height and another thing, something else, part of, for now, we needed to have a device to do every single thing of data we wanted to track. And obviously, as we get through the, further into the year, now it's like, okay, well, can we somehow get this all into one so we can, have less devices overall? So we may have a really cool new thing to show you.
Nice.
Yeah, Curtis and I made some progress on that last night. So can't wait to share more about that when we know if it's going to actually work. So we'll get some parts to test it with this weekend.
The amount of cool items that are going to be coming out of that garage with you and Curtis working on it is crazy.
Oh yeah, if you go in there, you can't understand anything that's on that table. Like I'm a geeky person. I'll be the first to admit it. I love me some technology. And he's explaining how he had to unsolder and resolder and hold these 4 pins to the thing to flash it and everything. I'm like, okay, that went a little bit over my. It's kind of like wanting to know your diagnosis at the doctor's office, but also not wanting to know every step in the You know what I mean? Like.
Give me step 1 and 10. Yeah, everything else.
Just tell me what I need to do.
Yeah, Can you dumb it down to like on a scale 1 to 10? How bad is it? You know what I mean? Like I didn't understand a word you said before that.
The respect level is still there. Like I respect the heck out of you for knowing all of that, but like you got to water it down.
Yeah, you got to give it to. You got to give it somehow I can put it into action of some.
Yeah. But. Yeah, props to Curtis for being able to tackle all of that, because he's a smart guy, and it's so cool seeing his brain just.
And he got shop, like the tech side of shop, which is limited compared to like Aloma and the sophistication we have here because of video editing and stuff. But he got all that. I mean, we literally like put together Aloma and like the networking and all that stuff like in a day with the extra parts we had from other things we've upgraded. So it was really cool. But all in all, it's been a really, really busy month of April. So many good things are happening. I'm super excited about just everything. I feel like we can obviously get weighed down in whatever each of our individual roles is every day, but podcast is always a great way to like zoom out and just be like, wow, this team is really doing something incredible. So with that, guys, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Every Plant Story podcast. If you want to check out more about Shop, you can visit Instagram at Gabriella Plant Shop. If you want to follow our main account, it's at Gabriel Plants Online. Last announcement, shop. We will be doing we had our preview launch this past weekend, and we will be doing our grant. We're going to be taking 2 weeks here to finish up some of the rest of the upgrades that we wanted to do. We kind of wanted to give some people a taste of what was to come, but we still had a few things like the signage and things we couldn't get installed on the right timeline, and they're going to need some space to do what they needed to do throughout the week. So we're going to give them about a week and a half here, 2 weeks, and then on May 22nd, a Saturday, at 10 a.m. we'll have the grand opening there, and there'll be more details at Gabriel LaPlante shop as we get to there. Those details will probably be there by Thursday or something. I still got to do that, so we'll see how quickly I can get to it. Yeah, add it to the list. But yeah, if you want more details on any of that, otherwise, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
Bye.